your posts is your message is come into my challenge. You're going to eat meat, salt, and drink water. And here you go. So can you tell me a little bit about
Yeah.
your general, thing with carnivore, your philosophy?
Mhm. Well, it's just basically trying to eat to our biological design. I don't think you need 5,000 different studies or all these different sorts of things to try to figure out what humans are supposed to eat. No animal on earth needs any amount of studies. They certainly don't need any survey trials. I don't think anyone needs survey trials. I don't think anyone needs survey studies to figure out anything. Those don't do much for people or animals. And so, we're the only animal on earth that doesn't know how to eat and needs a study to sort of tell us that. So I just sort of skip all that and just say, okay, what have we been eating for millions of years? What is our biological design? What's our physiological design? And I try to emulate that. And I basically think that if it didn't exist and we weren't eating it 50,000 years ago during an ice age, like I'm just not gonna deal with it. And so that's what I think of, just the pinnacle. I think that's the best you can do is you try to get, regenerative raised, grass-fed finished beef or wild game. I think that's going to be the most nutritious, high fat, of course. And that's going to be the pinnacle and nothing else. And then if you want to add in other things, then, you can, but at least give it a try for 30 days and just see how much better you feel. Because I know that for myself and for many people I've spoken to, even getting rid of spices and seasonings or just like a little side salad and things like that, they feel remarkably better. And so that's what the challenge is. It's just saying, hey, look, just for 30 days, just wipe the slate clean and just say, just meat, just water, nothing else. See how you feel. And if you want to add in other things, now you at least know what that's doing to you. And if it tastes good and you don't mind what it does, or you don't notice it does anything to you, great, that's fantastic. But at least you know the baseline. And a lot of people find that they feel a lot better and they add things back in. They're like, oh, actually, that makes me feel worse. So that's the idea.
Yeah, so this is what typically starts hindering people from that thought of, hey, let me just get down to the basics. But what is halting people really from trying it, in my experience, is this collection here: sweeteners, cheese, coffee, heavy cream, alcohol, sauces, electrolyte drinks, any kind of dairy, and all those recipes we see popping up on our feed. And so, yeah, I agree. I love the thought of go to the ultimate elimination first and then gradually add back in. And here are those things that typically thwart people from wanting to jump in and tackle this. And so, it's really interesting to listen to people cling to their prior, and we'll say, addictions. And when I have those chaffles up there, they're not waffles. We're talking about the ones that are made from cheese and egg, and the sauces made from, butter and heavy cream, and then of course the multitude of coffee drinks where everybody's mixing their items in. So let's talk about really what is the basic here. And for you, when you say meat, salt, water, there's levels of the ruminant meat, i.e. the lion diet, and the standard. So what is your viewpoint on, in general, meat? I know you just said the grass-fed, grass-finished is ideal, but...
Well, it's all about trying to get as much nutrient density and quality, as well as the least amount of aggregate plant toxins and things like that. So animals that are herbivores that eat plants, they're very good at detoxifying the plants that they are meant to eat. But if an animal is eating plants that they are not meant to eat, then they're not going to be as good at detoxifying them. And they're going to have these toxins bouncing around their body. They're going to have different nutritional sort of composition. They might have less micronutrients. They may have more linoleic acid. They may have other little toxins that can cause problems. And many people won't have an issue with the small amount of toxins that get through that, but some people do. So people that have autoimmune issues, especially, they seem to be much more sensitive to this. The reason being is that the ruminant animals are foregut digesters. They ferment their food first in the first part of their digestive tract, and then they absorb the products of that fermentation. So a lot of these toxins are fermented, they're detoxified or lower the toxic load. A lot of these nutrients are brought out because they're made more bioavailable, and they produce more saturated fat and protein just because of how the bacteria process the fiber as well. So the bacteria eat the fiber and they produce saturated fat as a consequence of that. And then the bacteria die off and the animal absorbs that as protein. So it actually grows protein by eating fiber and developing these bacteria. So that's what the ruminant animal does. It's very good at doing that. And it's actually better at digesting, breaking down, and fermenting things that it's not supposed to eat as well, and not letting that get into the body. Whereas other things like pigs, chicken, fish, these are monogastrics, just like we are. It has that sort of one stomach. They don't ferment the food before they absorb it. And so they just break it down and absorb whatever they're able to absorb, given the relevant bioavailability of the food that they're eating. And then it's their liver that's filtering it out. So it has to get into the body first, and then the liver's trying to filter out this garbage. So that's just a less efficient way of doing it. And so if those animals are less healthy, they're eating a less healthy diet, they're going to be less healthy for us. Whereas the ruminant animal, even when not eating its preferred and appropriate diet, it's going to be better off than another animal eating its inappropriate diet. Now, if you're eating, chicken that's just pasture raised, it's not eating anything else except the bugs and worms it's supposed to eat, then that's going to be better. Same thing with pigs and so on. But the ruminant animals are a very good way to go because because of that digestive system that they have and that fermentation process they put things through, they're really going to reduce the toxic load of these plants and get a lot of nutrition out of them. So that's the idea.
So would you say for yourself, your prominent meat source is all ruminant meat?
Nearly exclusively, yeah.
Okay. And in your challenge groups, when you bring people into that first month, dig your heels in and gut it out and do this, is it also told that you really should concentrate on ruminant meat?
Well, we definitely encourage that, but we at that point you say meat and eggs. So any meat that you enjoy, that you have access to, that you can afford, that makes you feel good, eggs included, then go for it. Sometimes people have problems with eggs, but if you don't, then that's fine. Some people have problems with other meats besides ruminant meats, but if you don't, that's fine. And always with the caveat that you should try it out, and you should maybe try a bit of time with just the beef and see if the pork or the chicken I just say never get farmed fish. They're just very unhealthy, and they're in horrible environments as well. And so just only wild caught. But we do encourage people to do just ruminant meat, but at the same time, not everybody has access or the preference for these sorts of things. But especially people with autoimmunity, you just say, look, you really need to just stick to just red meat and water.